Hi, Izzy. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Rolled. Ba 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 ba. So before we do Town to City update, yay! I'm actually surprised there aren't more people playing it on Twitch right now. But first I have something I gotta work on. I gotta fix my schedule announcement because it's wrong. It is no longer correct. Looking forward to seeing what the new City Town City looks like. You just watched Glenn's video about the Sims 4 Marketplace. I'm not even mad anymore, just disappointed. Looking forward to good news from there. I got you. Well, a bunch of my favorite games got updates this week. And by a bunch, I mean 3. And by 3, I mean 2 of them are, one is a sequel to the other one. But you know. So City Skylines 1 and City Skylines 2 both got updates. And Town and City got an update. So City Skylines 2 actually got a really good base game update and 2 DLCs, which I bought and have. So we will be playing that probably on Friday and checking that out. And then there's also new DLC and a base game update for City Skylines 1 that dropped that I also want to play at some point. The one for City Skylines 1 is really cool because one of the DLC drops for it is it's like racing themed, so you can have like a racetrack, but then it also built in stuff for doing like a parade. So you can like build a parade route in your city and then have a parade. It's really cute. I want to play with it. Why is my DaVinci Resolve not launching? It's broken. Sorry, I was talking to Zep. Okay. DaVinci Resolve does not want to launch. Is it broken? Why won't you open? Is it busted? I really wanted to fix my thing. Open. It won't open. It's broken. I broke it. It's busted. I'm gonna take that mustache away. Well, I was gonna fix my schedule, but I guess I'm not gonna now. It's a video, so I have to do it in DaVinci. Womp womp. Womp womp. Womp 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 womp. I need to fix my chat settings are not right. This is not correct. Show. There's no timestamps. Where's the timestamps at? Switch to non-mod settings. What? Can I not turn on timestamps anymore? Well, poop. That's weird. I used to have timestamps in my chat, and now I don't have them. Interesting. That looks more normal. My moderation icons. Gotta have those on. So I can punish people when they're naughty. Also, my birthday event is coming up. Because my birthday is Monday. So Sunday, I'm doing a 12-hour birthday stream. And I even went as far as to set up my throne. So that if anybody wants to send me a gift, they can. No pressure. Just an option in case anyone wants to. There's just some random cute stuff in there. And then there's one crowdfunded thing in there. I thought about adding a new stream deck to like the updated one. But man, they're really expensive and I feel weird asking for that kind of stuff. I feel weird having a throne in general, but I thought people might want it for my birthday. I've never used Throne. Does it work? Kind of like wishlist on Amazon. It kind of is, yeah. So they have a bunch of items on there from stores and websites. And basically it's like a safe way for if you wanted to send me something because it doesn't share my address. And you can purchase things on there through your PayPal or whatever, or however you want to pay. And then some of it's from Amazon. Some of it's from other stores online. Hi, Giga. Welcome in. How are you? Like I have a pair of DC shoes on there from dcshoes.com because it's one of my favorite shoe brands. Just relaxing for the evening. Nice. I hope it's nice and comfy. How goes my day? Throne stuff? Yeah, I set up a throne. Because my birthday party? My birthday stream is on Sunday. I'm doing a 12-hour stream. So if you want in on games on Sunday. Yay, old person time. Yeah! I put a sign-up sheet for games for my birthday stream in the friend chat in the Discord. So if you want in on party animals that day, we're going to be playing. But But I'm doing 12-hour stream on Sunday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, if you go in the Discord and the friend channel, there's the information's in there. You can find it. Dig in a hole. Yeah, diggy diggy hole. Dig in a hole. Bum, ba, 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 ba. Yeah, that's on your playlist too. Nice. Whoa. Well, I can't do what I wanted to do because my DaVinci Resolve isn't opening right now for some reason. I probably got to restart my computer. And we can't do that right now. I was gonna fix my time eating my vitamins. My schedule announcement is a video. And it was when I started streaming at 8 p.m., but now I'm streaming at 7 p.m. I need to fix it. And I was going to do it on stream, but DaVinci won't open. It's busted. I broke it. That's alright though. I'm still out of practice. Life will hopefully chill out after this week. Yay, hope so. I hope so. Hopefully it'll chill and relax and you can be all chill and relax. Me? Chill and relax? Thrive on chaos. Chaos. As I said that, Zeph sent me a little chaos email. That's funny. You're more chill than I am. That's why I say, even though that I am older than you, you're more of an adult than me. You're an adultier adult than I am. I'm just an anime girl on the internet. If I tried to play this game, I would probably try to burn down the place on accident. There's no fire. It's literally impossible. The only thing that can happen is your people get unhappy, and that's it. But that's not a challenge, Giga. I doubt it. All right. Shall we play? Where's Steam at? Open Steam. Oh no. Ugh. I'm laggy. Let's go over here. Oh, we can do Twitch integration too. Alright, we gotta change our tunes. We need something more chill. I doubt it. Yeah, that sounds good. Alright, and then we're gonna do a new game. Oh, I always think it's gonna be like a graphic, but it's not. It opens up a web page. For the early access roadmap. I think, if I remember right, for this game, I might have to move myself. Alright, we're gonna do a new... Create a new save on an empty slot. Yes. We're gonna do a new town. Ew. My way. And do it my way. Okay, we don't need to watch this. We watched it before. We know all this. This is old news. Right. So we got some new tools. I don't know how to use them yet. Terraforming gizmo tool. You guys can't see because I'm in the way. Let me move me. Let's move me. Let's move me over here. And let's move Hubba. Hubba! Hubba! Come here, sucker. Get over here, sucker. Move me a little bit more. There we go. Oh. Okay, and now I'll move Hubba. Come here, little guy. There you go. Here we go. Pre-location for a town. Yeah. So this is what the first map always looks like. It always looks like this. It does not really change. But now we have these terraforming tools, which are new. Transformation, actually, you know what? Should we read the patch notes first? Let's do that. Let's read the patch notes first. Let's pause this. Let's open Steam. And let's read the patch notes. So they integrated the top 4 community requests into the game. So we got terraforming, an undo button, bridges, and water tool. So in this version, the new content is they added a new map to sandbox mode, and they added terraforming. It's in the research menu. Oh. You can add water, remove water, raise terrain, lower terrain, smooth terrain, and flatten terrain. Also in the research menu now is bridges. Light wood bridge, dark wood bridge, stone arched bridge, and metal bridge. New bridge themed decorations also in the research menu. Street lights, light wood street light, dark wood street light, and a stone street light. New playground themed decorations found in park decorations pack. Ooh. Swing, a tree swing, a roundabout. What's a roundabout? and tumbling bars. Is that like a merry-go-round? Maybe. Quality of life improvements. Redo, undo for all brushing. New decoration filter menu. Ability to visually change the station to a previously locked version. Oh, unlocked version. That's cool. The merry-go-round. Okay, that's what I thought. Ability to swap house colors after placing them. Oh. Continuous demolish feature. Disabled collision options for building placement. Collision options for building placement. So is that for placing buildings or for placing stuff on buildings? Demolish. Add a demolish blocking decoration option for building placement. Ignore placement restriction options for building placement. Merge builds, maybe? I'm not sure. Transformation gizmo to the game for tweaking decorations. Oh, that's what this is. Transformation gizmo. Hotkey for increasing and decreasing brush size. Ability to adjust the lighting in photo mode. Ability to adjust lighting during gameplay. Added that fish can now jump from all water sources. Oh, interesting. Warning in the upgrade. Added a warning in the upgrade class of house tooltip saying that all decorations will be removed. Updated the camera system to work better with height differences. Renamed some decorations for better consistency in relation to search menu. Updated the inhabitant pop-up for better readability. Raised the spawn rate for geese in the animal shelter and raised the spawn rate of the allergic to camels trait. So that means more people that spawn in will be allergic to camels. For accessibility, they added a tooltip to the variation buttons of color-based variations in the build menu. Added a high contrast road setting, which increases the contrast for better readability. Added a replace color gradients with icon setting, which does away with the red-green gradients in the happiness breakdown. Oh, that's good. For people who are colorblind. Updated settings menu section selection buttons for better readability. Bug fixes. Fix that unlocking geese in the research menu would increase warehouse production per worker. Oh, that's a weird bug. What? Geese have nothing to do with warehouses. That's so funny. You could sometimes still brush crops after closing the farm tab. Fixed incorrect text for grape in the edit farm menu. Fixed that inhabitants would sometimes get stuck at the doors. Fixed that the encyclopedia menu wouldn't always respond to a single click. Fixed that upgrading a house in a class with the upgrade class tool did not bulldoze all decorations. Fixed that animal bushes did not count as bushes placed in some requests. Removed the mention of the big bell in the metal decorations pack as it doesn't exist in the game. And that's it. That's all the patch notes. So I didn't see anything about them fixing, unless that was part of the search fix. But the menu was broken for a while for items and stuff. Like sometimes it was like the arrows wouldn't work. But I wonder if they fixed it with the search. So this is transformation gizmo tool. Only can be used on decorations and will disable inhabitant interaction. Interesting. Demolish, move, we already had that stuff. What is this? Locked feature, terraforming to unlock. Ooh, that's the terraforming. Ooh. Okay. So, I guess we'll get started. It's been so long since I played this game. Yeah, build some roads. I'm gonna use the square. Actually, I think I'm gonna do 3. I think going a little bit bigger is the way. straight line. Oh no, it wasn't lined up quite right. And then I'll branch out from here, I guess. Sure, that works. And then I know that I'm gonna want a plaza up here for decorating later. I didn't get to see the very, very start of your town last time. This is neat. Oh, okay. Town to city to metropolis to megalopolis to the world. That's right. Hi, Mac. Mac knows what's up. All right, this will be cute. Oh, they're not the same. This one's a little bigger. Just a smidgen. It's just a smidgen bigger. Wait, I think I can undo now. I can undo now! That's amazing! I love that I can undo that. Alright, I think if I just go in a smidge. That looks a bit more even. It's the small things. For real. Undo is like a game changer. Right? Alright. That looks better. Alright, and then we need a road coming off this way. Yeah. House. All of our starting stuff. Oh. we have a favorites now. Okay, so this is the new menu. I can't paint a straight line. They better give me a Control Z option, right? And the cool thing too is if you use the straight road tool, you can tell by the pixels if it's lined up or not, if it's straight. So it helps you make straight lines. It's very cool. Okay, so this is the new menu. There's a show all, and I'm also blind. Same. There's a show all, and there's a favorites now where we can favorite decorations. That's cool. I wonder how you favorite it. Right click. So you can right click something to put it in the favorites menu so you can find all your favorite stuff. That's cool. Oh, and it tells you what's hidden by filters. Nice. There's the bridges. This is the bridge button. I found the bridge button, guys. It's the bridge button. I found it. It's right here. Looks like a little bridge. Cool. And we got our warehouse and our research center. And then these are our unique buildings, essentially. That's what they're called in City Skylines. I can't remember what they're called in this game. Okay, so we're gonna need food stuff. So I'm gonna put these on this side. And then we're gonna need a warehouse. I think I will put the warehouse here. Oh, I need to turn the game on. Click the station menu. Oh. Yeah, we want to enable. All right, and then I guess we will start. This building has variations. Click the variation you like or press C and V to cycle through them. Yeah. So in our last town, I put them off the... Oh, I see. So they added more stuff to the placement. I understand. So we can rotate like this. You used to be able to also rotate with the mouse. Maybe that wasn't this game. Maybe I'm making it up. Okay. If there's decorations in the way, I think it will delete them. Basically like anarchy. Disable decoration collisions. I get it. So right now it snaps to the road, which is fine. So in our old town, I had them off the road a little bit like this, and everybody had a yard, which was pretty nice. But I think this is going to be, around this pond is going to be like our town center. So I'm going to make these houses close together. And close to the road. Let's do one more. And they will change color when you place them. It randomizes, which is nice. Which you can also turn on and off. All right, and we have some people here. So we can move them in. And now people can work in these stalls. And in our warehouse. Guys, look at you. They're all moving in. Oh, I forgot to try on Twitch integration. Let's do that real quick. Settings. Twitch integration. So if you're in chat, you can be a villager in the game. I think it's !help. Yeah, that's where you can find all the commands. So if you don't like your job, you can re-roll. If you don't want to be in the town, you can leave. Goodbye. Fuck out. But you shouldn't have to do join. You should just automatically. Yeah, like Izzy's here. I think as long as you're chatting in chat, you're good. I am a toddler. There you are. There you are. That's you. Tiny Giga. You are BB. Time to be evil, child. The evilest. Burn. Burn. Burn it all. Crazy. That's crazy. All right, let's do some terrain painting. Let's do some dirt. Got any playgrounds? Not yet, but we will. Don't you worry, child. Sag. Don't be Sag. It'll be okay. I wish I had a nice balcony like that IRL. It looked nice standing out there and looking at the pond, right? Oh, we can make it even better. Ready? Here you go. You can have a... Oh, I can't build on houses yet. We have to research it and unlock it. Eventually, I can give you a bench on your balcony. All right, Giga, here. You want to slide? We can put a park. We can put a park right here. And we should probably have some lights. Maybe some lights at the train station too. No, you can't swim. There's no swimming. You can only look at the wubba. And then I guess let's put a couple of benches over here. Put them this way looking at the pond. Then we can put some flowers. I'm gonna give you some flowers too, guy. Well, I can put stuff closer, a little bit closer to things, I think. That's nice. All right, we need to build more houses. So we also need to build a research center. So let's continue this way. Like so. Actually, can't swim though in game, right? Into the lake. Ba-da-da-da-da. Actually, I think I want to make this bigger. See, if I want 3 on each side and 1 in the middle, that's 7. Oh no. It's okay, I can undo now. Oh, that's pretty straight. Then we go to the eraser. And we go down to 1. And look at the round one. And now we got a little avenue. Hi, Cyphus. Welcome in. Yeah, that's pretty cute. All right, let's build another road here. Let's go down to 3. Give them a little bit of space. And then we'll build more houses. Oh, Cyphus, you're in there. You're in there with Giga. Houses. We need more houses. Oh. Cyphus is unemployed. Oh. Don't worry, there's not many places to work in town yet. That's why. All right, where should we put the research center? Last time I put it up here on this hill. But I think maybe I want to put it on a different hill. I feel like this hill would be better. Last time we put our snow town up here. I can't take our jobs because it's dumb. Yeah, I taken our jobs. No, you're all unemployed. There's just not many places to work yet, guys. It's okay. Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there. Was I not a cat? Oh, we started a new one. This is a new town. No child labor here, apparently. It was me. I'm the AI. Oh no, Izzy! How dare you? We started a new town for the update because our old town was max population. So we got a new one. All right. We need to put the research center somewhere. Listen, Chi. Claudio Code won't take our jobs anytime soon. I fucking hope not. That bitch. All right. I'm thinking about putting it up here. Our old town, this is where our Christmas village was. So if I turn this demolish decorations, it'll take this tree out if I place it here, which is kind of nice. Anthropic is someone's persona name. On God. Anthropic. Whoa. My job as a transporter at a warehouse is a little too spot on. I unload trucks at Walmart, receiving for my first job. Oh my gosh. That's funny. I kind of want to put the observatory up here. What do you guys think? Should put it up here on this hill? Makes sense, right? Put it right here. And then somehow we gotta get a road up there. Because we have to have a road to the research center. I did construction, electrician's apprentice. Oh, I've done a lot of stuff. I've done so many jobs. Every time I get a new job, everyone's always like, wow, you've done so many things. I'm like, yeah. Gotta pay the bills somehow. How many workers do I got? I got quite a few. Let's put 4 people in here. It doesn't actually have to be attached, which is kind of funny. I guess it's not getting any deliveries from the station, so that makes sense. Okay. More foods. Alright, you guys need lights. Yeah, move the slide. Actually, we don't have to. We can just keep this whole square park. It's fine. The avenue doesn't have to come all the way through. It's fine. All right, research menu. Ooh, fish stall for 1 point and building decorations. We're definitely gonna do that. Once your town needs more buildings, the road to the observatory can wind around the cliffs. Long drive like they do IRL, one of those winding mountain roads. Yeah, we'll make it dirt or something too, so it makes sense. All right, let's put in the fish stall. So let's move this stuff. And we'll put the fish stall right here. Fish. Oops. More jobs. Excellent. Some trees. Oh, Cyphus is walking. Look at Cyphus go. Look at you go. You're strutting. Where are you going? Where's Cyphus going? You're just hiking. On a mission. Maybe Cyphus is going to the observatory. Cyphus has heard the call of the void, right? Oh, I thought Cyphus was going to climb the mountain. Low key kind of are. Look at you go. Oh no. Cyphus is glitched. Or tired. So you keep stopping to take a breather. Oh, there's going to be an ad starting in about 30 seconds. I think we need that road for them. Let's just I'm gonna go ahead and erase this. Oh. Great is a little tough, right? Let's switch to the dirt one and this windy one. And we'll go to like 2.5 or something. Oh, we're still on the straight line. Do that. And we can always change this later. But for now, they need a way to get up and down to the research center. There you go, Cyphus. Now you have a way to get up there. Do I have houses? I have one. One house. I'm afraid to put houses on this side because I'm afraid it won't actually reach. So I guess I won't. Oh my gosh, this anarchy feature is the best! I'm so glad they added this. Amazing. 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 It's the greatest. Oh my gosh. Bing bong. All right, what else can we unlock now? Ooh, so many things. We only have 100 and some points though. We could do the fruit and veggie stall. We could put those on this side so we can put houses on this side. So let's do that. This is the vegan side. I'm not sure why this isn't working. There's just not enough demand or something, maybe? Yeah, that's what it was. Not enough demand. Okay. That's fine. We understand the assignment, don't we, chat? Ads are over. Welcome back. We can also decorate houses now. So I think we should do that. That. You guys can have little benches. Cute. Cute. Bench. Once you decorate enough houses, you can just copy and paste them too, which is pretty cool. Move this light up a bit. It's kind of low. Same thing with this tree, or this flowers. There we go. A family with traits has arrived. These traits influence the family's happiness. Near water. Well, lucky for you, we have a lot of those. Alright, I'm going to keep doing some decoration. Alright, should we add... I know, I want to add a... Oh! Building a fence. Yes, I know how to build the fence. Thank you. I feel like we should have a fence around this warehouse for safety reasons. Don't you guys think? Like that. Then we can decorate this too. Put some flowers on the factory, or on the warehouse. Why not? It makes it more homey looking, right? I feel like it needs a back porch light. There we go. And then the surface under should probably be like stone or something. Oh yeah, so they don't I don't think the townfolk like age or anything, Giga. Yes, you will be. So if you want to switch, you can do, I think it's reroll. And it'll put you in a different spot. Never. Okay. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. Exclamation point, sleep all day. All right, and then maybe I'll put some trees right here. And then over here in this little park, let's do some archways. I don't know, light post is in the way. I'm gonna move you guys for a second while I build the fence. Now they need to do the collision thing with the fence too. Because I feel like I should be able to connect it up to the gazebo. You know what I mean? But instead it's like, no. He gets to wander down to the park while mom and dad bust their ass in the warehouse all day. Yes, it's true. Freeloader. Freeloader. Freeloading. He's freeloading. Yeah, he's Lord and nice. All right, and then we'll move the slide out this way a little bit, and then I think we should put some trees here, just so there's like a distinction between the private homes and the park, which is a public area, you know? Yeah, that's nice. And as we get more stuff to add to the park, we can add stuff to the park. But that's cute. Maybe we should put like a little pathway or something. All right, and then we gotta put these lights back. Nice. Cute. Oh, we haven't decorated over here yet. We'll get there. Let's put you in first because you'll be happier. All right, let's expand this road. Oh no. Try to find the straight line tool. Yay! Hooray for Control Z! I'm so happy we have an undo now. That's all I ever wanted. Oh, that actually sticks out a little too much. A lot of research points. Okay, I'll get there in a second. I'm busy decorating, game. Settle down. So to fix this, I'm going to go to my street size. And I'll line up with this existing road and pull it through. Nice. That looks nice. I probably should have waited until I did the this other part though, but that's alright. Can always do it again. Very cute. Dang, I hope I can fit another house right there. I probably can, right? Yeah, I can. Just barely. Oh. Whoa. It just barely fits in there. I actually have a little room. I could move it down, but I really wanted to put trees on the ends. Like this. not having collision is so amazing. I love it. Alright, I'll put you. Do I have any houses over here still? I don't. I'll put the pond people. Negative. Okay. We will move. Oh, you're a pond person. You're not a pond person. Okay, I'm gonna move you guys here. I'm gonna put the pond people here. Excellent. Oh, we did decorate over here. We just haven't decorated over here. Alright, and then we'll do another row of houses over here, like we did on the other side. Cute. This is looking so cute. Oh, that bench is way too big for porches. All right. Add another worker here. Okay, research menu. Greater reach, yes. And we'll do flower and plant decorations. Why not? Oh. We have greater reach now, so we can have more labor to serve everyone in town. Nice. You're sad about your home decorations? Aww. Still more demand for this building, but you can't add more workers. You can place another building of this type to fulfill the remaining demand. Okay. They're all going to their houses. They're moving in. These people want to live near food. I'm going to move you back here. And you can live right here. You can upgrade the town to the next stage. Let's go. Let's see if we got anything else left to research. Just trees. So now we have more flowers and plant decorations, and we have trees and bushes. Which is excellent. There's all our trees and bushes and flowers. Cute. We have a lot of workers. Let's put more people in the research center. Put a couple more here. The more people we have working there, the faster. Look, Mac, you're going to work at the research center. Look, Mac, you're employed. You're a researcher. And we're out of houses again. I forgot how fast it moves. All right, let's extend this road. And more houses. Actually, let's upgrade first. Should we upgrade first? Let's upgrade our town. Yay! Yippee! Woohoo! Woohoo! Yay! Pretty. Oh, you're all so happy. So I wonder, apparel and research menu expanded. Nice. Mayor, can I talk to you for a moment? In a second, Roxanne. Waxan. All right, so we got maybe we didn't get it yet. It's in here. Over here. Clothing store. And Halloween decorations. Animal decoration. There's terraforming. It's right here. I found it. There it is. We gotta get it. We gotta get it. We gotta get it. Alright. What would you like, Waxan? We're all excited about the potential for our town to grow into a prosperous city. Everything's going swell, though some of the new arrivals are experiencing issues. I suggest building yourself a house first, one with a big mailbox. That way we'll know how to reach you if we ever have any requests for our little town. Alright, we're gonna build the mayor's house. Fuck, where do I want to live? Bing. You're right here in this corner. It's a pretty good spot, right? Let's see, I think I should take up the lot of 2 houses. So I think that'll be good. And maybe a fence or something. I'm gonna live amongst the people. 'Cause I love them. 'Cause I love you so much, chat. Now, that's a house fit for a mayor. Amazing. Your house looks great. I'm sure the first requests will start coming in soon. We're all thrilled to have such an involved mayor in town. Hubba? No. Don't worry if it takes a while to address any of our requests. We're patient townsfolk. Oh, you know what I should do? So I still have the other Twitch account for the old bot I was using. We should change its name to Hubba and make it Hubba. It should be Hubba. Hubba. Right? And then Hubba could be a villager in the town. Hubba. 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 Alright, before we get too far, I want to decorate my house. Wish we had snapping. That would be my next request for this game. Is have an option to snap to roads and buildings. I think that would be good. Let's put some flowers. Man, I'm so happy they changed the collision for this stuff. Best update ever! That's cute. I think I need some lights though. I need a porch light. One there. I mean, this is kind of a porch too, right? So up here. Put it up here. This door. Yeah, that's good. Cute! Cute. I know, we're running to the hill. We can fix this later when we unlock terraforming. Your happiness is 87%, Mac. You're 87% happy. Izzy's 99% happy. Dang! You're just the happiest motherfucker on the planet. You're so dang happy. I'll give you guys some sunflowers. I'm telling you, it's the balcony. Word. We can now give everybody a little tree on their balcony. Everybody likes a little tree. Right? You're standing in the flowers. Are you okay? It's hiding. Hide and seek. We found you. Can't hide from us. You don't have decorations on your house. Here, you can have some sunflowers and a light. There you go. Alright, I was giving everybody trees. Oh, everybody's on their balconies. Everybody loves a good little tree on their porch. All right, let's see what this request is. Sigh. Hello, Mayor. When I moved here, I didn't realize I would have to survive without my favorite tailor. I fear I'm getting desperately out of fashion. Would you be a dear and build a clothing boutique in our little town? And make sure they sell red clothes. I hear it's the latest trend in the big city. You would. She sounds bougie. Where did I add more workers? Oh, I'm not researching fast enough. All right, we need the clothing store. Let's unlock terraforming. There we go. All right, let's place our clothing store and then we'll worry about terraforming. Apparel. I think this will reach everybody over here. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to put it right here on this corner. The boulevard looking extra nice, right? Isn't that cute? We could change the grass in the middle too so it's different. Like this darker grass. All right, then oh, we can't do the, we have to buy the upgrade. Set clothing colors. So now we can click on here. And we can go, right now it's on random, but she wants it to be red. So we'll do that. My friends will be jealous of this dress. Now she's in red instead of blue. 1,000 thanks, Mayor. Even those big city folk would be envious of my beautiful garments. You look stunning. My Mayor, aren't you handing out compliments today? Yes, I am, ma'am. You have yourself a good day now. We're gonna line this up with businesses along here. That'll look nice. That'll look nice, yeah. Alright, we're doing good so far. So far, so good. We need more houses, though. I think I'll add some on this side. Oh, terraforming. Here we go. By using the terraforming tools, you can raise or lower terrain, add or remove water, and flatten or smooth terrain. Modes such as raising all have additional settings adjusted by sliders. Excuse me. Depending on the brush, you can adjust the size, intensity, and fall off. Ooh. Terraforming is unlocked in the research menu. Yes, we did that already. Alright, terraforming. What do I want to terraform? I mean, nothing right now. I just want to play with it. Let's just go over here and see how it works. Oh. Maybe like a little hill. So this is brush size, brush strength, and brush fall off. Trying to see the differences. I think it's more tapered at the ends. Oh, I think it just makes it flat to where you're starting from. So if I start from this level. Okay. So that's flat and this is smooth. So this should like smooth it all out. And it doesn't cost us any money, which is nice. And we can lower. How low can we go? How low can we go? That's pretty low. How far down does it go? It never ends! Oh, it ends. Wow, that's really far. Okay, and then if I fill this, can I fill this up with water? Oh, I see. The water only will go so deep though. Alright, let's okay, so you can just kind of paint water in. You don't have to like make a divot first. You just paint it on like paint. That's cool. And then you can take it away. Oh, there's still a hole there. There's still a hole there. There we go. That's actually surprisingly very easy to use. They did a good job developing this tool. That's a great tool. I like it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I like it. All right. I wonder where we unlock bridges. There's just so much going on right now. Let's get the bigger warehouse. We have another request. Let's do that real quick. I don't want to play hide and seek. Don't you like it anymore? Of course I do, but there's no pretty flowers. I want to hide in bushes with flowers. What does that have to do with hide and seek? I just wanna. Flowery bush. Set the area in which to complete the request. Click the set quest area button and put our location on the map. You can always move it again if you change your mind. Okay. Can it be this park? That's a lot of bushes, yo. Good news, kids. Bushes and flowers are also filled with bees and ants, right? We'll just decorate the park some more. I'm gonna delete one of these. I love that we can put these so close together now. It's so good. Couldn't do that before. Get all angry. Alright, then we gotta put regular bushes. Alright. Hide and seek smells great now with all these flower bushes. I wanna play! I still don't know what this has to do with hide and seek. Go on and play, little ones! Thanks! Goodbye! $100. Let's go. Alright, I'm gonna put another road back here. Actually, do you have 2-story houses yet? Not quite yet. Let's unlock the shoemaker next. And I'm actually going to clone houses so I don't have to decorate them. The only bad thing about this is you gotta, if you want them to be different colors, you have to make sure you clone different colored ones. Ooh, I hope that was over far enough. So we can get our road through here. There we go. We have small trees now too. Which is excellent. Cute. All right. If it's getting too far away, we can always put a butcher over here if they can't reach the food. I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be okay. We'll see. All right, we got another request. Yesterday I sat down on a bench and I got a splinter in my leg. It hurt really bad. Perhaps our town is growing so much some of the old wooden benches are wearing down with use. It's even making our children cry. I'm not crying. You're crying. It would be a good idea. Ow. That was really laggy. Sorry. It'd be a really good idea to replace benches with these steel benches. Okay. But you don't actually have to replace them. Fun fact. Got a bench here. Maybe some back here along the pond. Put one here. There we go. Okay. Nicely done putting up those steel benches. Uppies! Oh. There's your uppies. Nicely done putting up those steel benches. That'll prevent other children from definitely not getting hurt to the point of crying. Yes. You probably never had a splinter in your leg. Try me, kid. I've been stabbed. Get out of here with your silly little splinter. Also, hi, Red. How are you? I drink a boba. I'm laggy. That's crazy that this game's making me laggy. I've never been laggy in this game before. Of course, I also wasn't running VBridger and everything too at the same time before. That could be different. Booties. Yeah, some Junimo booties. Alright, you can live here. You probably will not be close enough. But we did just unlock the shoemaker. So let's put the shoemaker down here. My road is crooked. Oh, it's because I placed the shoemaker too close. No, I gotta move you. That's better. How's your little Overwatch thing going, Red? Did you find a team yet? Is it gonna reach? Oh, it does reach. We don't have to upgrade it yet. Nice. Right, now you can come live here. Um, erase that. All right. What else we got in the research menu? A butcher. Second floor housing. Let's get that because it's kind of expensive. So now we can make our houses 2 floors, which is cool. Click here to start upgrading the size of residences. Oh, I'm so glad they added that because I never knew how for the longest time before. Very cool. Sigh, every tree in the neighborhood looks the same. They're all leafy. How about we plant a bunch of pine trees to spruce up our town? Oh, there are too many spruces, you think? No, too many oaks. We need pines. I have some saplings and mulch laying around. Mayor, could you plant 10 pine trees around here? Okay. Around here. Around here. These are freaking huge, man. Yeah, tiny palm tree. Palm tree? Tiny pine tree. I'm going to turn off the random and just do this one. Because these are freaking huge, man. I want to place one there. There we go. They look giant. I'm not keeping those there. Those are going away. Aren't they just the loveliest? So much more foresty here now. Deliciously. Oh, decided. I read good. Decidiously so. Decidiously. Interesting. Confirm. And now delete. These are way too big and they look silly. We need our medium-sized trees. That looks so much better. So much nicer. You know what, maybe I'll put a couple of pine trees up here. There's space up here for them. Yeah, that's better. That's better. What is this? Desires a house far away from any neighbors. Oh boy. Where will I put you? Do we have any houses right now? I don't. Alright, let's try our upgrade tool. Good thing we got money. Now they all have these back areas too. Drink something. You got it, dude. I'm not trying to click on red. I'm trying to decorate his house. Red's a researcher and he's 95% happy. Hydrate. I drink. There's gonna be an ad starting in 1 minute. These people want to live somewhere far away from neighbors. We'll scooch them over here. Alright, you guys can come live here. Far away from everyone. We have some sunflowers though, okay? And somewhere to sit. I think it'll be cool once we have bridges to make a river somewhere. Have like a river city. That'll be cute. Oh, you guys need houses? Here you go. Alright, let's finish decorating this. Oh yeah, this probably isn't gonna be like that at all. Wow, I didn't put these anywhere near the middle of the screen area. They don't have to be perfect. It's fine. And then need some bush. Some bush. Some flowery bush. There we go. Decorate our businesses. You guys look like you need a bench up here. Gotta decorate the shoe. Oh. What exactly does this tool do again? Start editing a decoration by selecting one you already placed. After clicking on a decoration, you can freely move, scale, and rotate it by using the gizmo. Oh. Dang, it's like the tool mod in The Sims. Wait, does that mean I could theoretically put an umbrella in a table? Or does the collision take care of that problem? I don't know if I'll use that much, but we'll see. Ads is over. Welcome back. Alright, somebody wants to live near water. Somebody's gonna have to move. Let's see. Actually, where do we even have houses right now? Anywhere? Oh, right there. Okay, we can live there. Oh, we're snoozing on our research menu again. Let's get the butcher. And let's get animal decorations. Now we got ducks. Statue. Oh, it's a kitty. Cute. Love that. It's so cute. And now I can do ducks and stuff in the pond. I wish I would also like randomly rotate them. Cute. I can put some of these. Look at you guys. And some lights. That's the thing, I guess. That looks cute. Alright, let's upgrade these houses. There you go. Oh, we have too many unemployed people, I guess. How bad? We do have a lot. We do have a lot of people who can work. Alright, if we go up here, I can't see the list of requests anymore. I click on the mayor's house. That's where it is. I still wish you could hover these and it tell you how to unlock it. Like, it doesn't tell you what the request is, but I wish it would just tell you how you unlock the request. I think that would be cool. Because I have no freaking clue what I'm supposed to do. You know? Halloween decorations? Sure. Why not? Oh, the kids are going to ask for the graveyard. They're going to ask for the spoopy build. What is this? Share a neighborhood with many folks. You got it. There you go. You guys are all just hanging out over here. What are you doing, Red? You don't like your home decorations. Well, aren't you just the pickiest son of a bitch? There's Mac going to work at their job. Oh, and you're looking rather adorable today. Look at you. She's strutting. And French. Mac, you're French! Oh no! You're looking cute right now. I'm liking this. Oh, I got all the spoopy Halloween decorations. You know, I've never done the free the like sandbox mode in this game. Should probably check that out sometime. Help! Last night I was playing in the woods and I saw an old knight's ghost. He was moaning and dragging his sword through the dirt. I swear he did. Please make the ghost go away before he scares everyone. Quest accepted. Item received. Gravestone. So we gotta build a graveyard somewhere. Maybe I'll put it right here next to the train station. That makes sense, right? Maybe I should put it over here across the street from these people. Wasn't there like a nature? Wish there was like a holiday section. What do I need to place? Trees, lanterns, candles, flower, gravestone. Okay. How many of these trees am I supposed to place? 5. Put some of the small ones. Okay. And then the gravestone. Where did it go? Can I search for it? Yeah, it works. Awesome. And the flower. Here we go. You're done with that ghost. Oh, thank you. With the old night chased away, I can start adventuring in the woods again. Ghosts begone! Don't stray far from the lit path now. Ooh, I had a lot of money for that. I feel like we should have a little fence around this. Maybe once we unlock the metal one. That would be good. Alright, what do we got going on? We got people needing places to live. Good. Oh shoot, I should have cloned those. Oh well. Too late now. Oops. The basket. Alright, and then you need a tree. Everybody likes a little potted plant. So I just fill this in with some trees. Small, medium, large. Yeah. Oh, we're close to being able to level up again. Alright, let's look at the research menu. We can do tastier meats. Or you do the fountain. Let's get the fountain. Oh my gosh, where should we put the fountain? How big is the fountain? Too big to go there. Could go here, mayhaps. Okay, I know. I'm trying to spend some right now. Settle down, game. I think they look pretty centered. I don't know though. That looks pretty good, actually. Not bad. We need some lights. Oops. Woo! Spinny game. And then just for funsies, I'm trying to rotate my duck and I can't. Can they not actually swim around in there? They look kind of broken. They're supposed to be the ones that move. They're not moving. Oh well. I love this fountain. It's such a cute asset. It's so good. Oh, I think we're running out of houses again. Oh shoot. Good thing I have an undo button now. The game wanted me to spend money. Here we go. Spending the big bucks on cloning things. Nice. I forgot I never placed trees over here. Oh, I did. Just those sides I didn't place trees on. That's what it was. You want to be close to food, though. I could put the butcher down. I haven't put that down yet. This is good because we have people that need work. Cute. All right, research menu, optician. We're almost through this menu. All right, so now you can live here. And now we have the population to upgrade. But I'm not going to just yet. I like to complete each thing on the research menu first, then upgrade. so I don't get overwhelmed with all the new stuff. Our little town's starting to look cute, though. Here comes more peoples. Far away from any neighbors. Problem is, far away from neighbors also means far away from everything else. Where should I put you? You can also reject people, so I think I'll dismiss them. Because I don't really have anywhere for them to go at the moment. House with a lot of trees. That would be this one. I guess they all say they have a lot of trees. Surprised this is still doing okay. We're maxed. Oh, we are 6 away. Maybe we should replace our warehouse for the bigger one now. And I think I'm going to put it over here instead of right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get our bigger warehouse. And I'm going to put it right here. And we'll get our little plaza road. To go in front of it. All right, and then can I shut this off? No, I can't. That's all right. I'm just gonna go ahead and demolish it. And then we'll go here and hire workers. And then we go to our surfaces. Is that the right grass? What's this one? What's this one? Turn that back into grass. Like so. Okay, and then let's get our little stone wall. Nice. And then we'll add some lighting. Like that, and then we'll add some flowers. Because why not? Yeah, that looks nice. And then can I branch off of this? I can. Oh no, I can't. Branch off of this one. Okay. Well, oh, actually, let's make a little alleyway back here. Oh, not that small. Actually, yeah, because I want to make this the taller fence anyway, because I think the short one looks kind of silly. The short one looks kind of goofy. Oops. Actually, now I'm going to leave it like that. You know, I didn't decorate these buildings at all. You guys are probably sad because you're not decorated, huh? There's that, and then maybe let's put like a bench or something up here. Right here in the middle. Whoops. I meant to hit Z. I hit the wrong button. Cute. Yeah, I'm liking this. I'm liking this. This weird bench. Go away. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. All right, research menu. What do we got? Tastier meats. Park decorations is next. You know what? Maybe I will also do a fence right here. Just so it feels more like an, you know, employees and whatnot only. Blow the city up? No. 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 Don't blow it up. It's cute. I love it. Look at how cute it is. There we go. We are looking so cute, y'all. Let me take a picture. Cute. I can't. There we go. Let's get a shot from this way with the fountain. Wait, how do I... Is there a way that I can pan down? I guess not. Train. I live near cliffs. Do that in this house. All right. Park decorations. Oh, it's the new playground stuff. Okay. Except now our park is full of walkways. That's right, we can erase them. Let's erase these. Seems that one team did, in fact, not pick up Drumsy. Oh, what happened? But they still do seem like the most dangerous team. Are you going to join them? You should. Do it. Alright, we got the swing. We got a merry-go-round. This is so cute. I got an offer from another team I accepted. I guess I'll see how it goes. Are they good? Or do you think they'll be good? I know you told me about the one you were kind of worried. Oh, they're random. I didn't know there was more than one option. I want a double one. Because I'm a petty bitch. There we go. Tree swing. Oh, there's snow on this tree. It's meant for the snowy area. Cute. That's cute. The little merry-go-round is so fucking cute. Look at it. I want to see someone play on it. He's swinging! Look at them! Oh my god, they're so cute! They were swinging! It was adorable! Oh my gosh. Oh, this is way too big of a splotch. I just want dirt. That's a little better. Like that. Around the merry-go-round too. You know, it would be all worn out. The first Susty, they gave no info. Yeah. That was probably smart. So cute. More pictures. Oh no. That's better. New playground stuff. This person had a partially built team and it actually told me information. Oh, good. That sounds more legit. That sounds more legit. Oh my gosh, you guys, I forgot how much I love this game. We're looking good so far, chat. Well, I hope this was, I'm gonna get rid of this one. Let's rename it to the update. I don't know what to call it. Sure. Oh, actually, before we go, let's upgrade. Let's upgrade our city. And then we'll call it a night. Wow! Yay! Yippee! Wahoo! Yippee! Wahoo! I just realized you guys had no game sound this whole time. That's shit. Sorry, guys. I forgot to connect it. You missed out on all the fun noises. Leisure unlocked and research menu to tier 3. So now we have all of the... There's the bistro. The Golden Crampton. Bridges! There's the wooden bridges. The other one's supposed to be in here. Stone bridges. Oh, excuse me. Okay. So they split up the bridges. That's cool. I'm cool with that. Cool, I'm excited. The guy you just said doesn't have their socials linked? Whoops. Red got with some amateur VTubers. I know. Okay. Saved. It keeps pointing to this one save, but that's not the one I'm playing on. But that's fine. I'm playing on a new one. All right. It's time to find someone to wade. I love that we still have uppies. It doesn't go away. Yeah. It's there the whole time. But you can redeem it up to 2 times a stream. Because there's another uppies. Where does that one go? Oh no. Oh no, chat. You guys wanna go watch Blingus? He's doing art. Uppies. Oh, how'd you get up there, chat? What are you doing up there? Uppies. Uppies. Chat loves uppies. Alright, we're gonna raid Blingus. See what Rob's up to. He's doing art, but it looks like he's also looking at old pictures right now. We're raiding the Gablingabongo. Yes. That's the one. That's the one, alright. Alright, guys. We're back on Friday. I think on Friday, I want to look at some of the City Skylines updates. But we'll see what mood I'm in, because now I'm going to be addicted to Town to City again. It's just so cute and I love it. Yeah. 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 Alright. Let's go say hi to Goblingus, aka Rob. Rob. See what he's up to. If you're a subby, you use the first recall. If not, you use a Nemo Pops. And we're out of here. Thank you, chat. I love you. But you know, get the fuck out. Goodbye. See you Friday at 7. Goodbye.